She put a pot on she hair and gone. Them a the first one out on the dam. Basket on she head, bucket in each hand. Hold up on she frock, I wanna she grandson. To the market, them a go. For the morning, the day is dawning. For cock-a-crow to give the villagers a warning. Rise and shine, the birds them a sing. All animal take turn as them join in the waking. Cock-a-crow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Cock-a-crow, dagaba, donkey, bray, horse, and they even duck a quack. Come and hear this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country. All day a back down, me now a come home. The naga jackass yard for fetchy load. Cockle shy hand, bag over shoulder, running by his side. A Rexy and Rover from the farm, them a come. Sun a go down but up the river. Some washing clothes, some folks are bathing at the water. Fisherman, they catch them a bring. From a canoe boat, man, them start offloading. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Lokunani. Aymara, Kwakwari, Hail Baka Kuma Kuma, even Bangameri. Listen to this sweet story that tell the people about life in the country.
Hello, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you, so call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
If you are looking to have your statutory declaration, affidavit of income, identity, damage or lost passport, lost license, tenancy agreement, agreement of settlement, power of attorney, last will and testament, and certification of documents, then you need to visit the Alistair Collins firm, located at the Kellyan Mall, 162 Lamaha Street in Georgetown, between Camp and Waterloo Street. Alistair Collins is a commissioner of oaths and a justice of the peace. Make certain you visit him or call for more information at 649-6410 or 685-6448 or 503-1451. And there's adequate parking available. Go down to the Alistair Collins firm and have all of your
All right. Hey, guess what? Good evening. Good evening. My name is Mark Benchop. Welcome to Straight Up. We are going to rock and roll. I'm not sure what happened. Our operator just preempted whatever it is and just started off just like that. You know, our operator just always on the move, you know, blame it on these operators. We have someone that is sitting in for Lemon this evening because Lemon has gotten so big shot since he got his, I think he got his associate degree. He got big shot, and you know how it is sometimes. But I have coming up shortly the former mayor of Georgetown and also former prime minister of Guyana. He is with us, Elder. I like when he writes his letter, he ends it off with elder. So he's now Elder Hamilton Green. He is with us this evening. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We want to talk about the fact that the PPP regime again start off with they're going to have local government elections in November. Then no. They're going to have it in December. Then no. Then there's a possibility they will have it in February. I don't know what's happening. And of course, the Queen has died. The Queen has died. She is no more. She's gone. I want to get into the mind of Mr. Hamilton Green because the Queen visited Guyana during, I think, when he was a big guy in the government then. I want to ask whether he shook the Queen's hands, his views on the Queen's, and the fact that she is gone. She's gone. But guess who is also going? Sarah Lynch is going. The U.S. ambassador to Guyana, as we have reported here, what were some of the possibilities that we know that a reputable Guyanese guy who has lived so many years in the United States, served in the military, a general, was actually the guy pinpointed to be the next ambassador to Guyana. And then the PPP hopped in and recommended their folks. And then the State Department said, hey, we're just not going to have any of this. We see that this is going to be a battle. And so we will appoint a career diplomat. And this career diplomat is Nicole D. Terrier. She's originally from Louisiana. She's now she's the Consul General in Karachi, that's Pakistan, and she's fluent in a lot of different things. She's fluent in Urdu and French and so forth, and she's heading to Guyana. But there is a process. She's not heading to Guyana right away. So don't expect Sarah Lynch to march out of there tomorrow. There's a process. The fact that the State Department has identified her, it simply means that the White House has no problem with that. So that's an already go at the White House. But she has to go through a Senate hearing. She needs to go through that. They have elections. The Democrats and Republicans are fighting to have control as of November for the Senate and the House as well. So it all depends on that. Unless they rush this appointment through for a hearing in the Senate, don't expect. Thank you, Carl Miller. Don't expect Sarah to pack her bags before November. Just don't expect that. The fact is that a new ambassador, a person to be ambassador of the U.S. to Guyana has been identified. That's not the end of the process. That person has been identified. She's on the screen. Career diplomat from Louisiana, nominated as next U.S. ambassador to Guyana. So there is still a process. Don't think that she's going to catch a plane and head down to Guyana and then Sarah is going to leave Guyana and that's it. No, there's a process. And when she reaches to the Senate could reject her, mind you. Or if the Republicans gain control of the Senate, guess what? There's a high possibility that she may not be confirmed. So we don't know as yet. So y'all don't start beating drums. Y'all don't start eating black pudding and pulori and these things as yet, because Sarah is still with you guys. All right. What else happening? I'm told that our former prime minister is still with us. He's waiting. But I wanted to get something out of the way, man. Seriously, I want to get something out of the way. How can big men be so jealous of people, especially their kids and their success stories and so forth? As parents, we should be able to embrace, we should be able to congratulate each other, but not try to be so jealous. Here is a case, and I want you guys to tell me whether this is jealousy or not. For me, it is jealousy, not just bitterness or stupidity. It is jealousy. Listen to what this guy, Freddie Kissoon, has to say about my son. Listen.
20 financial infractions. Mark Benchop hates this government. You know, my daughter went to UG with my own money. You know, Mark Benchop's son got a Guyana government scholarship to study economics in the UK, while our university has an economics degree. King Kong ain't got anything on me, Gildavi. King Kong got nothing on me.
Now, look, the relevance of that topic was totally relevant. That was out of the way that you just, this was last evening. Someone sent it to me because I don't watch those sort of things, mind you. Those sort of things, I really do mean it. But what is the relevance? My son is not the only child who has gotten a scholarship. Thousands of students have gotten scholarships. In fact, Freddie Kissoon has asked the coalition for a scholarship as well. I don't know what has happened. Mind you, I don't know his daughter's qualifications. I don't know anything about his daughter. But the public knows about my son. Mind you, the public knows that my son is beyond qualified for any scholarship. And let me just make this point clear. Freddie tried to give the impression that my son is on a scholarship as a result of the PPP, the installed PPP regime. That is not the case at all. That is not the case at all. My son is qualified for more than a scholarship. He applied and he got a scholarship under the coalition, not this PPP regime. My son is off to study economics at the University of Oxford. And I think that is what is bothering some of these people. The jealousy, that is what's bothering some of these people. Hence,
20 financial infractions. Mark Benchop hates this government. You know, my daughter went to UG with my own money. You know, Mark Benchop's son got a Guyana government scholarship to study economics in the UK, while our university has an economics degree.
Good, an economics degree they do have. But my son has studied for econometrics as well. Topped his university. Topped the university. So not once have you heard a great job by this guy's son. He's now off to study economics at the University of Oxford. None of that. So you're telling me about jealousy? This is a man who attended the University of Guyana for free under Bornum. The same Bornum that he loves to cuss out. The same PNC that he was cussing out. And then he has the nerve to say King Kong got nothing on him. This is a man who probably never paid his way to any university. After he left UG, attending UG for free, under Bornum, under the same PNC, he went off to Canada for free again. After he finished in Canada, he hopped on a plane and went over in 1982 to Grenada. Then the revolution started in Grenada. The same Bornum had to send a plane or helicopter to remove Guyanese from Grenada. And Freddie Kissoon, was included because he wasn't going back to Guyana to work. He was going to Grenada, not to join the revolution, but to work in Grenada. It so happened that they had a revolution. But this is a guy who is talking about King Kong has nothing on him. But then again, back to this whole thing about my son having a scholarship. What is the big deal in having a scholarship? Almost all of the students, all of the kids of these PPP individuals have scholarships to attend universities outside of Guyana. They not only have one, they have 2 scholarships and all manner of things. But this scholarship thing, it is not just a scholarship. It is more than that. Here is a little kid belonging to Ben Shap. And of course, you know Ben Shap's ethnicity is going to Oxford, has been accepted into several prestigious universities around the world. Oxford, London School of Economics, University College of London. And that is what is hurting these people. It is hurting them so much that they got to talk about it every single day. Here is a young man who has who has topped the university out of thousands of students, topped the university in economics at the University of Nottingham. But you're not going to hear about these sort of things. You're going to hear that, oh, Ben Shap's son, like if it's a freebie, and look, we're looking for handouts. But you're not going to hear that this is the same young man who is now attending preparing to attend the University of Oxford, not with any government scholarships, but out of the pockets of his parents. You're not going to hear that. But what Freddie attempted to do is to create this impression that he is going to Oxford because of a government scholarship. Lies, 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 lies. And that is dangerous when you have a big man behaving like that. He's a little kid. You know, right? Why would you want to bring kids into this? Look at how long he has been excelling. I don't see anything about Freddie's daughter excelling like this. It is out there in the public. It is there what Ryan has achieved over the years. I'm not putting Freddie Kissoon's daughter down. I've never insulted Freddie Kissoon's daughter publicly or privately or otherwise. I know that when the PPP were attacking his daughter, I came to his rescue. You know, but why is he so fixated on my son and a scholarship that my son got under the coalition, not the PPP, under the coalition? Is that a crime? Is that something to talk about? And how many other persons haven't attended UG? Freddie's own daughter went off to the UK to study for her master's. I don't know who paid for it, but I haven't asked who paid for it. Of course, he's going to say he paid for it, but it's none of my business. I just wish to congratulate his daughter for excelling, whether she attended UG, whether she attended wherever, it doesn't matter. And we as parents supposed to be able to embrace each other and congratulate each other's kids, not attempt to put them down. But that is not going to go anywhere with us, because we all know, and this is here, Ryan has been excelling for years. He topped his school, his primary school. He went on to QC, and this is what he said. He said, I always wanted to go to Queen's College, so I'm satisfied, he said, whose favorite subject is mathematics. So his ambition is to become a neurologist. Well, now he switched it to wanting to become an economist. He advised students who will be sitting the assessment next year to work hard, and it doesn't matter if you don't have the natural ability, just work hard. Work hard. This is a kid who has always worked hard. And this has always been out in public's domain about his achievements, his academic achievements. I don't know anything about Freddie's daughter's academic achievements. The public doesn't know. But again, whether we know or not, she is his daughter, and we want to wish her well. What is so wrong in doing that? Instead of always barking up the tree of Ryan, oh, he got a scholarship, but Freddie's not saying that my son got a scholarship under the coalition. He's making it appear as though it's under the PPP. And so Ben Sharp is cussing out the PPP every day. You know, I will deal with Freddie on another issue that he doesn't subscribe to my politics. All of a sudden, he doesn't subscribe to my politics. But this is what we have been doing for several years. We have been all over. We have been protesting. We've been doing every single thing. But all of a sudden, because he's now in bed with the PPP, he doesn't subscribe to my politics. So, yeah, we all understand, right? But anyways, I appreciate the support that you guys have given and the fact that my son is off to the University of Oxford to study. Compliments of his parents. No government, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And even if that were the case, what exactly is the crime? When was the last time you heard, someone, actually a male, heading to the University of Oxford to study? Can't we just all embrace? But no, if Ryan was of probably Freddie's ethnicity, and we've got to be, then it would have been big news in the Chronicle, in the Stabroek News, in the Kaiser News, all over it would have been big news. But because it's Ben Sharp's son, they're all quiet. They're all jittery. They wonder what is going to be the case with him 10 years from now, because Oxford is not an easy school. And you've got to work your way. You've got to earn it to attend a university as such. And my son has earned a natural, brilliant individual. Freddie is just jealous of the young man. Jealous of the young man. That's all we can say. He is jealous of the young man. But this is the same Freddie. This is the same Freddie Kissoon in 2018 wrote in one of his articles. This is what he wrote. He's always inserting his daughter. This is what he wrote. My daughter and Ryan are not your average run-of-the-mill children when parents are constantly harassed, victimized, and there are attempts on their lives, the children are bound to suffer. And my daughter and Ryan Benchop did suffer. It was a miracle that my daughter survived mentally to do superb at CXC and to perform exceptionally at the University of Nations and so forth, right? And he inserted that in the article, knowing very well that Ryan attended Queen's College. He wrote 14 subjects. He excelled. He got mostly ones and so forth. And then Ryan went on at Nations, where he excelled. He topped the A-levels class. He was the valedictorian and all manner of things. But it is what it is. It is what it is. But this is the same Freddie who loves to boast and brag that he went to 3 universities. Obviously, Guyana doesn't have 3 universities, unless he attended the University of Iflat. This is what he said before we bring our guest on.
You are the best. I bet the J University. You only got the I bet the J University. You only got the best. I bet the J University. You only.
He went to 3 universities. He went to 3 universities and all manner of dotishness. Our guest this evening, enough of that. I just thought I'd clear the air and let that individual who's always talking Nancy stories to set the record straight that my son is attending the University of Oxford. I am proud. His mother's proud. All of us are proud. His brother, his brothers, his sister, everyone, every single one of us is proud. Mr. Hamilton Green, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Mark.
I'm sorry that I kept you going for a few minutes, but I just had to get this out there so that propagandist can stop with his nonsense.
Mark,
yes, sir.
Before you say anything, I seek your forbearance to make a few remarks.
Sure, sir. Go ahead.
I know today is your birth anniversary, and I don't think it is sufficient to indulge in the hackneyed traditional happy birthday. A man of your magnificence, work deserves much more than those simple terms. On behalf of my wife, Jennifer, we wish you all the best. For us, you have passed with distinction the litmus test of excellence and a man of goodness and a superior patriot. Patriots are hard to come by these days. And without fear of contradiction, I name you in that category. And I say, keep up the good work, keep up the struggle. You've passed through the evils, you've been incarcerated, and talking about your son. I remember attending an interview you had at your home in South, and I was excited when I saw this young man with books in his hand and you give him guidance. So I think at this point, as he goes off to one of the greatest universities in the world, Oxford, you should not deny yourself the praise and the part you played in his upward mobility. And I think on your birthday, we deserve, as I now do, to offer you best wishes. And I say, keep up the good work. The struggle continues. And we need men of your stature, your magnificence, and your majesty to face the evil empire with the education, information you're sharing. Allow our young people to have the bunks, the spunks to agitate so that we can emerge out of this looming situation of an apartheid state and be truly liberated. I want to make those remarks on behalf of my wife and family. To Mark, you've passed through the hell of being put in prison for no good reason. And I say to you, you're among those who have championed the ordinary cause. And I remember people talking about cowards. There are many cowards around this place. Shakespeare once said, cowards die many times before their death. The valiant taste of death but once. So, Mark, to you and your son and your family circle, congratulations and happy birthday. And my wife and mother-in-law has promised, when it's convenient, to drop in for a special cook-up.
You're teasing me, Mr. Hamilton Green. You're teasing me with that cook-up. Well, thank you so much. I really do appreciate those kind words, the sentiments expressed. And, I return the same to you because of your contributions over the years and, continue the good works. I know you have been, you are advising the youngsters as well. You've always played a part in my life as well. There are times I ask you some tough questions, but I oftentimes say that I have never come into contact with a politician in Guyana that I ask tough questions and he still smiles and he still invites me over to his home and we still get along. They don't make them like you anymore, hardly do. And so when you called me earlier to wish me a happy birthday, that just reminded me of exactly how I feel about you. So thanks to you, thanks to your wife, thanks to your mother-in-law, and thanks for the offer of cook-up. I will have that very, very soon. Thank you so much. You did mention apartheid state. And we have been hearing this quite often now, that Guyana is basically headed, or is probably almost there, semi-apartheid state. Why did you use that term, please?
Well, first of all, Mark, let me be crystal clear. Apartheid, in its widest context, use, and experience, is not only racial, it deals with class and the structural reforming of our society. And that is what is happening in Guyana today, particularly with this oil bonanza that we have. There are many Indo-Guyanese who are suffering, and I use the word deliberately, from increased cost of living. My wife sent one of her assistants to buy things today, and everything has gone up, every single item. And yet, the government remains obtuse and refuse to, as I have proposed, to double the salaries of every single public servant, every policeman, every soldier, every fireman, because this business of handing out money like Father Christmas is not the answer. And I say that we've got to keep up the good work, keep up this campaign, this crusade, so that people understand in the government it will not be business as usual. An old wise man once said, the pen is mightier than the sword. And with this oil money, I've contended every Guyanese family can enjoy the benefits, be happy, and live a comfortable life.
And that is where
and I said, is that racial alone? It has to do with class, because many of our Indian brothers are burdened with increased cost of living. And what the government has done to manifest this apartheid philosophy is to go out and give out money here and there, thinking they can fool people all the time. And I believe that many of our Indian brothers who are not the beneficiaries of this largesse recognize what is happening and will tell them where they are going come 2025.
All right, well said. Let's look at it from this standpoint that all of the organizations that are headed by Africans, persons of African descent in Guyana, are being targeted, deliberately targeted by this regime. We saw what happened with the cash grant, the COVID cash grant, where thousands of persons of African descent, Guyanese, are still awaiting. They were deliberately handed pink slip. This is not to say that some of our other brothers and sisters from other ethnic background have not gone through that as well. But the bulk of those persons are persons of African descent. And this has to stop. Hence our reason to describe the current regime, the way Guyana is presently, under this corrupt regime, is that resembling apartheid South Africa. And we must not run away from that. I'm not saying that you are running away from that, Mr. Hamilton Green. I understand exactly what you're saying, that under the PPP regime, almost all ethnic groups, they are suffering. That is true. But look at how persons of African descent are being deliberately targeted by these individuals who are installed. Look at what they have done to Ipadiji. A little couple $1 million given to the organization. They want to throw the books at them to give this impression that the folks who are heading Ipadiji are corrupt and they can't manage and they can't, all manner of things. That is dangerous, Mr. Hamilton Green. You have far more experience in that area. Let's hear from you, please.
Well, Mark, it's a known technique used by the imperial masters. You pick on African leaders who are likely to provide leadership, pick them apart, denigrate them, make them look ugly, so that you open the doors for the corruptors and those who are not really interested in the freedom and liberation of the African people. And these fellows have learned techniques from way back, and they're using it with a passion. They're also using the media to tell people a story over and over again. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister of Hitler, used the technique of repeating a falsehood every day. Joseph McCarthy, the US senator, used the same technique. And this is what we see happening with this government. The government, I believe, is split. Some of us get the impression that President Ali would want to do the right things. He's got some credible advisors, but he cannot disentangle himself from a corrupt cabal that seem to feel that they are the new masters, the new master, and they will punish Black people with all of this propaganda. I was in West Coast for Peace recently, and I was surprised that some of the young people there didn't know of what happened to Ithaca. So they're going with their Afro ministers who have no real power. There's an oligarchy of a particular group, share out a few hampers, 2-pound hampers when other people are getting 10-pound hampers, and fail to explain to the people of Ithaca that it was a recommendation. I've given this example before. To build the Berbice Bridge from Ithaca on the west to Stanleytown on the east, the soil was better, it was a narrow point, and it would have cost about half the amount to build that bridge. But both Ithaca and Stanleytown are basically Afrocentric communities. So the PP couldn't afford, and I use the word afford, to allow that benefit to go to either Ithaca and to Stanleytown. So they go further north, where the soils are less stable, the river is wider, the tide is ferocious, to build a bridge, all because they want to avoid giving Ithaca and Stanleytown an opportunity to really develop. And what bothers me, Mark, is many of our people on both sides of the political divide are unaware of these machinations. And it is up to us to tell the truth so that we can prosper. The other day, a certain gentleman who is part of the cabal looked at an ordinary Black security guard and call her a black monkey. In other places, this would have sparked riots. She brings a private case, and the DPP, who has a similar name to the president, using the powers of the DPP, has the case withdrawn. A complete absurdity. And these are the things we need to tell our people about to understand this apartheid is not a joke. It's a very serious battle. But we can resist it and bring glory to our people at the next round of activity.
Glory to our people at the next round of activity. Mr. Hamilton Green is with us this evening, former Prime Minister, former Mayor, former Minister of Works as well, right?
Works, hydraulics supply, all sorts of things, cooperatives, national mobilization.
You know, and also General Secretary of the People's National Congress, too. I believe the youngest, probably still the youngest.
In the most difficult days.
Yeah. How old were you? 23 or something like that? 23, 24?
Born 1934, you work it out. I became
right.
General in 1962.
We'll do the math.
You know, it was a stressful time because you were in the midst of the Cold War, and it took the wisdom of a man called Forbes Burnham to navigate those treacherous waters to bring us independence in 1966. It was not easy because you have the PP with their tails up, fanning violence and creating mayhem.
But it's tails up, probably still do, but it's tails up, but they can't get by this time. We're not going to allow them to get by at all. We are watching them, and it's not going to, they're not going to be allowed to get by to have persons of African descent in a corner and be vicious with them. And like you have said, there are some of our Indian brothers and sisters who are feeling the squeeze as well, and our indigenous and other folks who are feeling the squeeze because of this installed PPP regime. Gorbachev died, breaking down of the USSR, the Soviet bloc, and so forth. Your reflection on Gorbachev, because during that time, you were the Prime Minister of Guyana.
Well, Gorby is a bit of a maverick. I've spoken to Russians in the Caribbean and in Europe, and they think, to use the word of one profession, he was no more than a stinker and was used by the West to dismantle the Soviet Union. On the other hand, there are those who feel that what he did was correct, remove the Iron Hand, as one Western diplomat called Iron Curtain. It is not for me to make a judgment, except to say that in our real world of human beings, you need two powerful powers to deal with the complexities of the world in which we live. And Gorbachev's passing was not a moment for celebration in Russia and the former Soviet Union countries. And I remember that we looked upon Gorbachev with mixed feelings because we understood that neither side were angels and that for them, it was important to control the rest of the world. And this is why people like Nehru and Nkrumah, the man from Yugoslavia, Tito, and Nasser from Egypt must be praised because they initiated what was called the non-aligned movement, which Burnham embraced, which said the resources from Africa, India, and other developing countries should be for the benefit of the people, and that we should be pawns of neither East nor West. So Gorby's passing, in fact, didn't deal with this question because he didn't address the question of non-alignment. And today, we need a strong non-aligned movement so that we can escape the clutches of the big boys.
All right, the clutches of the big boy. We move from the Soviet Union. Well, Russia, of course, Vladimir Putin refused to attend the funeral of Mikhail Gorbachev. But let's head over to, I know you're smiling there. Let's head over to England now, the passing of the Queen Elizabeth II at the age of 96. I know she visited Guyana, probably I wasn't born yet. I don't want to give my age out because I'm right behind you. Can you describe what it was like to have the Queen Elizabeth in Guyana at that time, sir?
It was a moment of excitement. The city council was well organized and it turned out. We were all excited in spite of the fact that we were pro-independence. But Her Majesty was very gracious, very forthcoming, and we enjoyed her visit. And it's something our youngsters will not forget. At the same time, those of us who were in the political hustings never lost sight of the fact that we can be gracious, we can welcome the Queen, but for us, real independence was the goal, and that should never be compromised. The Queen, of course, became Queen of England at an interesting time of this country's history and the world's history. She was on holiday in Kenya, if I remember, with her husband, when King George VI dies quite suddenly. She had to curtail her visit and get back to England, and that was in February of 1952, if my memory serves me correct. And the coronation was in April 1953, months after we had our elections, and the boys were talking some strong things. And as you know, our suspension came in October of 1953. The radical element...
When you say the suspension, because a lot of our young people might be looking and wondering what suspension, the suspension of our constitution. At that time, Chedi was the premier.
Yes.
They suspended the constitution because Guyana was heading down the wrong path of blatant communism and incompetence, yes, and all sorts of things, right?
We got elections in April 1953 under the advanced, what was called the Waddington Constitution. There were 6 ministers: Dr. Jagan, Forbes Bonham, Lachman Singh, Janarine Singh, Ashton Chase, and Sidney King, now called A.U.C. Guyana. They were the 6 prominent people in the government. And I think, as Bonham observed, they refused the invitation to pass a motion of loyalty to the Queen, new Queen, for her coronation in June of 1953. Bonham told us privately he thought it was a mistake, and I believe that was part of the punishment which led to the suspension of the Constitution in October of 1953, where the 6 ministers were dismissed and the British government installed what was known as an interim government in advance of the 1957 elections. It was a very troubling time because somebody whose name I can't call, I have no clear proof, started this thing of Apartheid, which divided the 2 major races. And we are still victims of that cliche, Apartheid. And one of the things we need to do at this time is to overcome this nonsense and understand, as my friend Yesu Prasad once said, we came in different ships, but we're in the same boat today. We've got to paddle like hell together, get rid of corrupt leaders, and sail forward to enjoy the bounty that God has given us. Look, Mark, all over the world, the grape crops are failing because of intense heat. In Pakistan, 1/3 of the country is covered with water that they can't use. Dead fish is turned up in Poland. In parts of Africa, people are starving. They're hoping to get some of the grain into places like Kenya and other places. Ghana suffers no such major natural disasters. Our only disaster is bad government.
Bad governance, indeed, and we see that all oftentimes whenever these individuals are in office. We can't run away from that. We see it for the most part whenever they're in office. Mr. Hamilton Green, I just want tonight to be just about an hour, and obviously you know the reason why. I've got to head out. But before I go, I have a couple more questions for you, sir. The first one has to do with the allegations made by the Detective Bascom, about a cover-up of a murder case, alleging that a so-called prominent businessman and his security guy were part of this murder. The RSS is there right now. We're not seeing any move to have these individuals arrested and questioned and so forth. How much confidence you have in the Guyana Police Force, the leadership of the Guyana Police Force, that this murder of Fagundes, and the suspects will be brought in?
Very little confidence I have, and let me say this right away. Within the police force, there are very good, competent officers. So don't let's paint all the bad ones with the same brush. But those who seem to be in control are obviously getting some political directives. This murder, which took place at a high-profile place, a watering hole for certain people, in normal circumstances, and there was a murder there before, that place should be monitored with cameras and policemen 24/7. But what is of interest, to answer your question, is that the gentleman who was a guest of the American system, Mr. Rashid Khan, said that the bullets were intended for him. The logic suggests that he therefore knew who pulled the triggers to kill Paper Short. Was he interviewed? Did he name that person? You can't say that he was the intended victims, and he's not a foolish man. He must know who it was. That case should be solved within 48 hours. It is dragging on, and I don't know who is hiding what. Bascom has asked for protection, which is normal in any democratic state. He's been given none, and I don't know what is happening. What the government should recognize is that if you live in a country where the judiciary and the police force are not functioning properly, you are on the royal road to implode. And I think the government should have the intelligence to understand that so long as you erode the confidence that every police force should have, you are doing harm to every one of us. Every PP, AFC, PNC supporter is put at risk, because the police are supposed to offer you protection. People these days don't report certain things to the police because they feel that it will not be fairly done. And this is a sad and sorry situation.
Very sad situation indeed. No confidence in the Guyana Police Force. And this is not to say that we are painting the entire police force with the same brush. No, we're not. They're good men and women within the force, but they're not getting that opportunity to do the good things because they seem to be overcrowded by a bunch of so-called politicians within the force and corrupt individuals who are linked to corrupt businessmen. questionable businessmen, some folks who are in drug dealing, drug lords, money launderers, gold smugglers as well. Lots and lots of that is happening in the police force, indeed. Let us.
My
Yes, go ahead.
question and an answer from the appropriate authorities. What did Sahir Roger Khan say or mean when he said he was the intended target? He must know who are the assailants.
Of course.
And we need to know that.
Mr. Green, let's move on now because we will stay on top of the situation. The suspect, so-called prominent businessman, is wherever there's a camera, wherever there's a popular story, a trending story, he jumps in the picture to take pictures and give some handouts. So he's busy in Essequibo now. The police force seem not to want to pull him in and question him on the murder of Fagundes, but he's busy right now. This situation with Jack Dale and Sue is being shoved under the rug. Why are we allowing it to happen when in fact Sue has made a bunch of allegations of corruption involving Jack Dale? Allegations, mind you. Why is it that we're not hearing much of it and Jack Dale has not been pulled in for questioning?
Well, in the same way, the DPP has withdrawn the thing where a man calls an ordinary worker a black monkey. In the same way, you're not getting answers to the Fagundes assassination. The two Henry boys, West Coast of Beast, and by the way, the anniversary of their passing, well, not of their torture, was last week. Yep. The anniversary was last week. And in the same way that one of the Henry cousins' relative took things into his own hand. Allegedly. Yeah. And this is the danger that we face. If people are not getting justice from the police and the administration, they are likely to take things into their own hands. And that is a recipe for bedlam, for anarchy, and confusion. And Mark, I don't want to live in the 60s again in this country, because the average Indo-Guyanese and the average Afro-Guyanese and the Afro-Porto-Chino Amerindian want to live in peace and enjoy the fruits of our natural resources. The majority of people don't want this country, but somebody, for some reason, seem anxious to foment strife and create confusion. And as you said, we've got to stop them in some way.
Of course, we've got to stop them, and we are on to them. So we will stop them. They're not going to get by, no matter how much they pay their newfound friends to drink lots and lots of soup and defend them and so forth. We're not going to allow them nor their newfound friends to drink soup on their so-called programs and get paid to go after some of us. We're not afraid of them. They want to go into the trenches, we'll go right in the trenches with them and swim. I'm telling them that I'm prepared to go in the trenches and battle them. Simple as that. But before we go, though, I know you came prepared for me. You came for 2 hours. You came for 3 hours. You know, I know you came prepared, but certainly not tonight, Mr. Hamilton Green. Let's talk, sir. Let's talk.
My wife is my uncle, and she's got something prepared for me to go up and eat.
Oh, okay. I got you, Mr. Hamilton Green. I got you.
And you go ahead, Mark.
Your beautiful wife, Dr. Jennifer Basdio Green. Give her my regards. But this feeding program that existed under the PNC, because I remember the days from nursery school, primary, and so forth, you get biscuit, healthy things. Now look what our kids are getting. What is it? It looks like Kool-Aid in a plastic bag and 2 slices of bread. What was the feeding program like under the PNC's government, sir?
First of all, we had the milk plant, and in cases where the children were not lactose intolerant, they got milk, which is nutritious. And they got biscuits, which was not just salt biscuits. They were biscuits made by the company, which had a certain amount of protein. And the whole thing was properly timed. So I haven't seen the breakfast, but I've heard it is substandard. Apparently, conscious of this fact, because everything for these fellas is to make money. The minister said that if they discover any contractor not giving proper meals, they would dismiss them. That sounds good. Let us see what will happen. Because we're becoming famous or infamous for contracts that are not credible being handed out. We have the one with the school at Rupununi, given to a firm, what is called? CARES. Give a big contract for school here, and the CARES contract for the Rupununi was a disaster. In fact, the coalition, after examining it and getting reports, had CARES blacklisted. But now they're getting contracts. They're doing works in Georgetown without consulting the mayor and the engineers. Inconsistent with the essence of democracy and the requirement of our Constitution. So they're throwing aside the basis of a democratic state. You go into Georgetown. In fact, one of the contractors for all this work is alien to the city. He lives over the river. And these fellas are using names on their contracts to hide the fact of who they are. And that's another rascality being perpetuated by these boys. It is sad, and I must thank the Starbuck News editorial for talking about this thing with CARES. What is it? How did he get his contract for the rival school?
That's exactly the point. How a lot of them got their contracts, and as we have on the screen here, we see that contracts for new $11.8 billion Cunard to Crane 4-lane highway, and a bunch of so-called contractors. We don't know who these people are, but when we look at them and they're talking about balance, ethnic balance at GCOM and all these things, when you look at the contractors, you wonder whether these people in the PPP, the installed PPP regime, really believes in
it's monoethnic. But you know, Mark, for the information of our young people, this behavior is not new, you know. They talked about building a road from Perico to opposite Baltica years ago when the people were in office. Their Conti contract, millions of dollars expended, not 1 square foot of road was ever built. This president here, let him deny it. When I became chair of the Central Housing Plan Authority, most of the houses built, particularly in East Bank, were falling apart. The septic tank was going in one direction, the step was going in another direction, and the body of the house was going in a third direction. And some of them had to be abandoned. When I called the engineer and asked him, how could you build a house on former sugar estate land without a soil test? He said they were instructed to go ahead and build houses. And the only contractor, one in maybe 20, was this boy, Allen, who did a good job. All the other contracts were of one group and work badly done, and millions had to be spent to correct it. And this is the sad situation of state funds being capriciously expended and not getting the full benefit.
Absolutely. Let's quickly move on now to elections petitions. Over 2 years now, they're still lingering in the courts. The installed PPP regime, and they boasted and bragged about the PPP coalition, rigging the elections, and they have the evidence. But yet these people, these PPP people, are the ones who are afraid to have the elections petitions case go. They're afraid because they know exactly what will come out of that. Why do you, so that's my opinion, sir, why do you suppose they're delaying the hearing of the elections petitions?
It's very obvious that they don't want the whole story told and brought out. And it's a very simple matter, you know. How could you have an election with a list that is bloated? And this is my worry. We have a judiciary which is fractured, fragmented, and sometimes we get the impression it's a family affair. We talked about it. Stanley Ming presented figures to show the absurdity of a list of electors, almost the same number of people living in Guyana. That is a recipe for corruption and rascality, and those boys are past masters at fixing things. Not new. From 1961 it happened, and when you call me again, I will tell you a lot of stories which are maybe not known to the general public.
You know, one second, Mr. Green. One second, sir, please, with all due respect. You caught my attention there. And for me, it doesn't matter if you spend another 10 minutes to talk about a couple more rigged elections under the PPP. We know you spoke about the MacDoom rigged elections. We know what happened in 2006. They stole a seat from the AFC. We know what happened in 2011. They attempted to steal another seat. We know what happened in 2020, hence their reason for not wanting to have the elections petitions heard at all. But let us hear a few more stories, please. I have the time. I can stay.
Well, this is personal, perhaps. In 1961, I was a candidate for the Houston constituency. There was a lot of manipulation by certain people. We took the petition to the court, and the learned judge determined that the elections were flawed and ordered a by-election. The PP never complied with that order of the court. And that is why I was denied a seat since 1961. This is part of our history. The records are there. The facts are there. The judge ordered that the election be null and void and that a by-election be held.
So wait a minute, Mr. Green. This is not the first time that the PPP has been caught with their pants down rigging elections.
No. I take back 1961.
Good. Rigging elections. Continue. The PPP.
I was a candidate, so I speak with first-hand knowledge, and nobody can dispute what I'm saying. The judge ruled the elections were flawed, and the PP candidate couldn't take a seat because the judge said you must have a by-election. And we campaigned for years for the Houston by-election until they were put out of office in 1964 by the first credible coalition between the UF and the PNC. And this is part of a sordid situation. But they're very good at propaganda. They keep talking about, including a good friend, rigging elections. But they're the most.
Who is my good friend?
Man, who you think? The man who is.
All right, Soup man. I got you, Soup man. Continue. Yeah.
You know, so that they're very good. I've said it publicly before your program. You can't fault the PPP. They're excellent at propaganda. You can't beat them at that game at all. You can't beat them at that game at all. And coming back,
and that is what they did. That is what they did elections night. The propaganda was in full swing to make it look as though something sinister happened. And the boogeyman was Mingo in all of this. It was all propaganda. Because if they are serious that the coalition rigged the elections, then they shouldn't be hiding and trying to prevent the elections petitions from being heard. Meanwhile, these guys, meanwhile, Mr. Mingo has been charged unjustly. Miss Myers is facing the court. Mr. Lowenfield is before the courts over 2 years now, and the matter cannot proceed because there's no evidence against these people. Sorry, Mr. Green, go ahead.
No, but that is the situation in this country. And I said you have a mission, a crusade to expose the calumny of these people so that our young people in particular are sensitized and are mobilized to resist the evil empire. And this is why I began by saying you are to be highly commended. Don't give up. You're doing a job that makes you super patriot. Keep it up. The struggle continues.
We'll leave on that note though, because I know I can tell that somebody is holding your hand and trying to pull you away from me. No, I'm not gonna.
Great. She's very gracious.
She is a gracious lady indeed.
She's combing her locks.
Dr. Jennifer Bastier Green. Give her my regard. A very, very good friend, sorry. Really good friend, her and her mom as well, especially the cook up. But let me give you an opportunity in your closing remarks to send a message to the opposition. What more should they be doing? Because there's so many things that the failures in the PPP and all these manner of things. What more can the coalition do to confront the evil empire?
Well, the coalition has to be patient. I think Norton is doing a good job. He's working hard. He's only one person. There's some young people and others in the PNC and other places. We've got to tell them, as I've told some of them, they've got to sacrifice prime time to go out into the highways using the sophisticated media is good. I mean, this is the modern age. But I am of the old school who believe there's no substitute to go into those yards as I did, change diapers, talk to people, stir pots, and explain to them what is happening to the country with all this money, and that what they need to do is step up so we can turn things around and that we benefit from this bounty that the Creator has given us. And incidentally, before I go, Mark, when I talk about apartheid, there are some excellent Indo-Guyanese who are in the front line fighting. People like Glenn Lal, GHK Lal, Christopher Ram, there were Jennifer Bulkan and others. They're doing excellent work. We must thank them and praise them for having the courage to expose the evil empire. And we must work with them to turn things around.
Thought I missed you there for a moment. Sorry, Mr. Green, but I thank you so much for your time this evening. Continue to look as good as you're looking. Give me the recipe for that because I'm right behind you, my friend. I'm right behind you.
Get a good wife like mine. He was a good wife. Everything will be done. You've got a good wife too. And they're the miracle workers, you know.
Not your mother food, your mother-in-law's food.
I'll talk about my wife now.
Amit, thank you so much, my friend. I love you. Have a great rest of the evening. Give your mother-in-law my best regards and your wife as well.
Tell your boy congratulations. He's gone to a prestigious university, Oxford, and we will be proud of him.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Green. And he's going there with compliments of his parents. Compliments of his parents. I repeat that.
Of course.
Compliments of his parents. But thank you so much, though, Mr. Green. I appreciate your time, sir, and your kind words. God bless you.
God bless. Thank you.
Mr. Hamilton Green there for us. And I've just got to go. What is it? 12 minutes after 10 o'clock, right? I'll be back tomorrow. I promise you. Same place, same time. Let me drive this car and head out of here because this car is currently in Florida. The so-called prominent businessman can't get the car. that probably, I'm sorry that I'm laughing, can't get the car at all, right? But let's get out of here, man. We'll be back tomorrow. God bless you all.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455.
Oh, one other thing quickly before I go. I didn't thank all of you for your birthday greetings. I, from the bottom of my heart, I'm so thankful for that. I've had so many calls and many wishes on social media, on Facebook, and even via here. I'm looking at some of your comments. I am so thankful. And if there's any other person out there, because you know Virgos are really nice people, we're strong people, we're loving people, very loving people, but we also go in the trenches. We fight until the end. And when people disrespect us, we go after them. Trust me, we do. We go into the trench. So those soup drinkers must know that we also go in the trenches and we can fight the fight. We can also either go at the middle ground, we can go up there, or we plunge in the trench with them. So if those soup drinkers want to continue being Pakus, we will go in the trenches with them as well. But thank you all so much. I know there's somebody else celebrating their birthday. Either today, yesterday, they celebrated, or tomorrow. Happy birthday to all of you guys. God bless you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. Bye-bye.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. Separated. Now we freer. That's the way it should be. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your sister, help your brothers, help your neighbors, and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, 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 yeah. Ooh. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. One people, one nation, one destiny. People, let's get together. Stop all this fussing and fighting. Let's love one another. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your brothers, help your sisters, help your neighbors, and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny. Everybody, y'all. One people, one nation, one destiny. Yeah, yeah. In the olden days, we were separated. Now we are freer. That's the way it should be. You gotta help your mother, help your father, help your sister, help your brothers, help your neighbors, and your friends. We are one people, one nation, one destiny.